that he has worked on that he could not see Flexamat being used on. But the statement that I liked the most was he said, yeah, my clients seem to prefer a material that's kind of a set it, forget it, right? You put it in, it works, you walk away, you never deal with it again. And that's how I look at Flexamat is we're that set it and forget it. If they install it correctly, they get that vegetation growing up through it. You put it down, it vegetates, you walk away, you never look at the job again.
Welcome back to a new episode of the Stormwater World podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Shout out to our sponsor, Bloxam & Company. They have a sediment and erosion control stormwater inlet filter that's made of coconut fiber. I've known Eric Pierman and the gang over there at Bloxam for years. We've done business with them in the past, and we continue to do business with them to this day. It's a great product, and it's very simple to install. It comes in pads or rolls that you can customize to just about any stormwater drain, and it's very, very simple to maintain as well. You get a great visual when driving your site because you don't have to stop and look down into the drain. You can literally just put this product over the top of the drain inlet, and then you're going to see the sediment on top of it. After a rain event, you can have someone sweep it off and get prepared for the next event. They also offer a free sample, so make sure to check them out. You can go to bloxam.com, that's BLOCKSOM.com, or you can contact them at 219-363-0206, or shoot Eric an email at eric.pierman, that's PEARMAN, at bloxam.com. He can answer any of your questions you may have, as well as let you know where the closest distributor is in your area. Thanks. Let's get back to the episode. Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of the Stormwater World podcast. Today with me is a friend of mine, Ron Geater from Motz Enterprises. Ron, thanks for taking the time to be on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for us finally getting this lined up.
Yeah, you mean for chasing you for 2 years? Yeah, you're welcome. I did. I love the product, and I want people to hear about it. I feel like it's one of those things, and maybe you can speak to this. Like a lot of times, we just feel like everybody should know by now, but we both know they don't. Do you run into that still doing lunch and like? I think everybody knows about Flexamat, but then again, you're out there doing lunch and learns all the time. And so what are your thoughts?
I do run into that. It's a little surprising at times because, I'm coming up on 9 years with the company. And I guess what really got me in the beginning was when I first started. So it was the November of 16, but I didn't really get going running until 17. And it just kind of blew me away every time I'd go down to Indianapolis to present to any civil engineer that was down there. I'd always start out my presentation by saying, have you guys ever heard of Flexamat? And nobody raised their hand. And I'm like, kind of blew me away considering Cincinnati's only 2 hours away from Indianapolis. So that, they all know what it is now, but back then it was definitely surprising on how many people did not know what it was.
Well, I still say there's probably people that don't. And we got a whole new group of folks coming up in the industry. But before we go any further, everybody gets an introduction. So let me do yours. Ron Geater joined Motz Enterprises Incorporated in 2016 as the regional sales manager for the Midwest and was promoted to sales manager in 2025. Regional manager, for the Midwest was promoted to sales manager in 2025. He covers a 6-state territory promoting the use of permanent vegetated hard armor mats known as Flexamat. He spends his time doing presentations with civil engineers, working closely with DOTs, and going to job sites to provide technical assistance for installs. Ron's career in the erosion control industry began working with American Excelsior Company for 8 years. The experience he gained from selling erosion control blankets provided him with the insight of specification work. He also spent time educating municipalities, transportation departments, and environmental agencies. Ron received his bachelor's degree from the University of Iowa in 1991. He also earned a full ride scholarship to play football. After his senior year, he was named first team All Big Ten. In 1992, he was drafted in the 7th round by the Denver Broncos. Congratulations. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I've got a picture. I have a picture that I found on the internet of you in your Iowa Hawkeyes jersey. It's your football card. I can put that up here if you want. All right, I'm just kidding.
You're setting me up, man. I know what that photo looks like.
You guys are gonna have to Google it yourself. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Hey, and congratulations on the promotion this year. So that's cool as well. And then let's just dig into it. So let's talk about some Flexamat, man. Where would you like to start?
Well, let's talk about what the product is.
Okay.
So the concrete is a minimum of 5,000 psi strength. The block are 6.5 by 6.5 inches. It's got a low profile of 2.25 inches. Embedded in the concrete is a high strength polypropylene geogrid. Then the next layer is what we call a 5-pick lino weave fabric. And then underneath that is either one or two erosion control blankets. So we offer Flexamat Standard, which has a Curl-X2 erosion control blanket underneath it. And the Flexamat Plus has got the Curl-X2 in conjunction with RecycleX, which is a permanent turf reinforcement mat. Now, if you're not trying to take care of an erosion issue and you're underneath a bridge deck or you're doing a boat ramp or a drivable surface, we do offer a 10-ounce non-woven fabric. So 3 different underlayment systems. When you are trying to prevent erosion, there is an 1.5-inch gap between the concrete block. That represents a 30% opening for grass to grow up through it. So really the whole thing behind the product is you get out on the job, you grade it out, make it nice and smooth, put the seed down, lay the mat down. Once the grass grows up through it, it's locked in, it's going nowhere.
Yeah, I feel like so the best testament, as I think, is some of the pictures I've seen of years go by, and you don't even see the hard armor part, right? It just looks like it literally just looks like grass.
That is correct. And so a lot of the time, the question you get is it mowable? And yes, it is. So you're right. There's a lot of jobs that I've gone to that if I didn't know where the installation was, I'd never find it because that's how much growth is up there. But it is a nice facet that you can mow it. Obviously our biggest competitor is Riprap, and you're not going to mow Riprap. You're going to get a lot of weeds growing up in it.
Right.
You've got the void between the rock, which, anymore we get these really heavy rain events and it gets in there and it pushes the rock out. And so
Uh,
what do? They have to keep dumping more rock at the problem.
right. You got weeds growing up in your riprap, so you just spray it with some weed killer. Wait, no, I think
Correct.
that's irony, right? That's the definition of ironic, like spraying weed killer on your on your
Well,
stormwater
the other thing, yeah, the
EMP.
other thing is I would say,
Oh shoot.
95% of the time, people are putting a turf grass type seed underneath the product. Where the other aspect of the product that I really like is when we're doing a shoreline, you can plant natives and get that nice stem growth of 18 to 24-inch root system. The beautiful natives come up and it just gives it a much better look on the shoreline.
Yeah, I encourage everybody that's never heard of Flexamat or has looked at other hard armors. You really got to go to their website and look at some of these projects. It's let's talk about how. Well, one, like I know the product, so when you were explaining it a minute ago, I know exactly what you're saying. But I don't think people really realize that aren't familiar with it that this is like what he's talking about it woven. It comes in these massive rolls, right? And
Yep.
I don't want to steal your thunder, but it comes in these massive rolls. You want to talk about how like it looks it looks almost too simple to install. Is
Yeah,
it
so I just gave the description of the product. I didn't really explain how it comes. So in our manufacturing process, we can make the mat 4 foot wide, 5.5, 8, 10, 12, 16 foot wide. Standard lengths are 30, 40, 50 feet, but we can customize. So I would say 99% of our jobs that go out is a custom length where they needed to go 27 feet or 33 feet or 54 feet. What's even crazier is we had a project down in Texas last year where we made a roll that was 15.5 foot by 124 feet. So the product weighs 10 pounds per square foot. So that was almost a 20,000 pound roll. Normally, an 8 by 50, you're looking at 4,000 pounds, or 16 by 50s, 8,000 pounds. But in all reality, all you need is a decent sized excavator to be able to pick it up, place it where you want it, and use the bucket to unroll it. That is probably one of the big key advantages that we have over an ACB, an articulated concrete block mat, because their product is 40, 50, 70 pounds and has cables running through it. You literally need a crane on site to pick those sections up. And, there's a lot of jobs out there that you don't have that kind of room or ability to have that piece of equipment in there. So for us, I think that's, something that gives us an advantage.
I got you. In our pre-show notes, you had mentioned something about a funny story from a DOT conference. Do you still want that one? Do you still want to share that show? And then, okay, let me
I actually told the story to my wife last night.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, maybe
I
had to
tell her what I was going to, say on your podcast.
Oh, so. Okay. Yeah. Don't turn this into. Okay. I'm just going to caveat. This may just turn into. I know, Ron. This may turn into the Stormwater World podcast after dark. Okay. There's my disclaimer. You go ahead.
Right. Well, so what happened was the first Arkansas DOT conference I went to down in Hot Springs. They pretty much had like a U shape along the wall where everybody had their booths, centered all the way around the eating area and whatnot. And so I think there was some comments from the distributors or the exhibitors that were there that they didn't really feel like they had a lot of people walking by. And so the next year it was hilarious. They put all the exhibitors, they made like a run to where it was almost like herding cattle going through a maze for them to walk to get to lunch.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, well, this is an interesting approach, but earlier that morning, the guy that was running the conference said, he went up to every exhibitor and said, hey, at lunchtime, I'm going to give all of you a 5 to 7 minute deal where you can get up, just do a quick spiel about your product, tell, a brief description in that amount of time about, what you're selling. And so I'm sitting there thinking about it and I'm like, you know what? I think I could put a little PowerPoint together, about 25, 30 slides and get that done in 5 minutes. So I put it together. I get up there, I do my spiel. And after they get done with lunch, the cattle come through the thoroughway. And man, I had so many people stopping by. It was incredible. Like, they had the opportunity just to hear me for that little bit of time. But the best one was a guy came up to my booth and he's like, hey, did I hear you correctly? Are you Flexamat? And I said, no, I'm not. I said, I was talking about my product, Flexamat.
Oh,
so I told Matt and Sean in our Cincinnati office that story, and they're like, well, looks like we need to get you a cape.
Oh my gosh, you're lucky. I think you're lucky that didn't stick.
Right.
You're lucky everybody already called you Geater, saying like you got a name. Otherwise, you'd be Flexaman. Yeah. We kind of, I don't want to say we beat up Riprap, but we do. I mean, I think it's a fantastic, Flexamat's obviously a fantastic alternative. But I also feel like the product has it just has a lot more versatility than I think people realize. Do you want to kind of go through and just kind of list out and maybe give some examples of the different applications? I mean, it's just not used for, okay, there's a hill. We don't want it to erode. We're done with our product. Okay, roll down the Flexamat, let the vegetation grow. But there's more than it can be used for than that.
Yeah. So what's funny is obviously I put that in my presentation about how the product is used, and I literally had to write down every application because there's so many. We do channels, we do slopes, we do outlets. We do shorelines, we do river and stream banks, we do overflow / emergency spillways, landfills, drivable surfaces, airports, pipeline protection, wastewater treatment plants, and lagoons. So
wait. What are you doing at a wastewater treatment plant?
On a wastewater treatment plant?
Yeah.
Just lining around certain areas where they have the water. Yeah, so like to give you a good example of a wastewater treatment plant project that I did, I had presented to a firm in Kearney, Nebraska years ago, and they wanted to use it on this wastewater treatment plant. And it was in Oberlin, Kansas. And let me tell you, Oberlin, Kansas is out in nowhere land. And so anyway, the job got bid out.
Shout out to all the people that live in Oberlin, Kansas.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I don't
No, but it was 90,000 square feet. And once the contractor got awarded the job, I called up the engineer and I said, how did we look? And he's like, well, I just wanted to let you know you're about $140,000 higher than Riprap. And he's like, but don't worry about it. I went to the city. I told them why they should go with Flexamat, what the advantages were. Over time, they wouldn't have to go back in there and replace any of the rock or anything like that. And as timing would have it, my salesman that covers Missouri and Kansas was literally just out there 2 days ago, got a drone shot of it, completely what I was hoping for. The entire site was vegetated, everything staying in place. It looked really, really good.
Wow. So that's actually a testament to the product and to that engineer. I don't know. I mean,
Right.
that's a good relationship you have with that. That's not a little number to get
Well, you
them
know,
to.
and that's what's really tough
That's
is when you
awesome.
go into a presentation with engineers is I bring it up. I don't wait for them to ask me because I know the question is going to come up. They're going to ask me,
Absolutely.
what is the price difference between Riprap and Flexamat? And I always have to say, you know, if you go into a state like Iowa, where I'm born and raised, you've got rock prices over in the Quad Cities, Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Council Bluffs. So that obviously that number fluctuates throughout the entire state. You just don't know
Mm-hmm.
what the availability is, or you know, if they don't have a lot of rock quarries there, that number's going to go up. But I always tell them, for the most part, that I know Riprap is going to be cheaper than Flexamat. But if you're putting Riprap, let's say, on a slope that continues to fail when we get these large rain events, and you have to keep dumping more rock at it, you know, they may be cheaper, but then after they keep adding to it, then the
Mm-hmm.
cost changes and we become the cheaper product. You know,
Yeah.
last year I did a presentation in Des Moines, and one of their colleagues joined us virtually. He was in Kansas City. And about an hour after the presentation, the guy sent me an email and went on and basically was telling me that he could not think of a job that he has worked on that he could not see Flexamat being used on. But the statement that I liked the most was, he said, yeah, you know, my clients seem to prefer a material that's kind of a set it, forget it, right? You put it in, it works, you walk away, you never deal with it again. And that's how I look at Flexamat, is we're that set it and forget it. If they install it correctly, they get that vegetation growing up through it, you put it down, it vegetates, you walk away, you never look at the job again.
Let's talk about it. You mentioned a couple of things there that I want to touch on. One is the dirty word in our industry is maintenance. So let's talk about that. And then
Yep.
after that, let's follow up with, let's steer people in the right direction that may not have installed it before or may not have used it before, and give them some tips to where the installation does go correctly, to where because you mentioned that, right? If they install it correctly, that it is basically a set it and forget it. So it doesn't sound like there's a lot of maintenance, but let's talk about both those things. Let's,
Okay.
what is the
Yeah.
maintenance?
So yeah, let's talk about the maintenance. So that you know, that's what I tell a lot of engineers is I think that, for one, contractors want to use riprap because that's just what they've done for 10, 15, 20 years. You know,
Right.
they look at Flexamat, they're thinking, oh man, this stuff is big and heavy. It's going to be really difficult to install. I get those comments a lot until I go out to the job site. And after about the third roll, these guys are like, man, this stuff is super easy to put in. Like, why haven't I been using this for years? And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about.
Dude, I'm telling you, like, anybody listening, go to YouTube, go to their website. You've got to see videos of the excavator literally setting down this massive roll of Flexamat and then just bumping it with the bucket and watching that stuff just roll down. It's the best ever.
Right.
That's the bet.
Yeah,
So,
and every state's different too. Like years ago, I had a job go out for bid in Wisconsin, and I looked at the numbers, and I literally had to call my distributor, and I said, I don't understand how that contractor could have the cost of Flexamat be that costly. And he's like, Ron, what you don't understand is that contractor owns his own rock quarry. That's why the number's super high. He doesn't want to use Flexamat. He wants to sell his own rock.
sure, of course, and he wants to come
And then
back.
on the flip side of it too, I think a lot of contractors wanted to go in with Riprap because once they install it, let's say that contractor is the guy that retains the maintenance contract on it. Well, if it keeps failing and it draws him back out there to keep putting more product at it, he loves it because that's generating more business for him.
Yeah, exactly. But wait, let's go back on the maintenance thing because I went crazy because I steered people toward YouTube because I got to see those videos. But what did I miss it? What were you saying? What is there a maintenance? Is there any maintenance?
There is no maintenance. Essentially, the only maintenance that you would really have is if you didn't want it overgrown, right? You didn't want a 2-foot stand of grass, then mow it. That would be your only maintenance that you'd have to do is mow it.
Now here's something. This might be a dumb question, but I just don't know. I'm just going to ask it in case people are thinking it. Like on these rolls, do you need to have them precise measurement for your project, or can they be cut or no?
They can be cut. So I'm glad you brought that question up because that is one thing that I really love about my company is when I first started, we hired a guy about a month before me. His name is Dan Taphorn. He's our regulatory guy that he does all of our mat layouts. So what we do, this service is free from my company. When a public bid comes out, we get the plan pages, and what we need to know is what is the shear stress? What are the water velocities? What are the soil conditions? Just some simple questions to understand what we're dealing with. Then once we get the appropriate plan pages and the profiles, Dan can then put together a mat layout. And so what the mat layout is, it's kind of like putting a puzzle together with the pieces. Dan will do a mat layout, and he'll, like a job, it could take 50 mats. And so he's gonna label it mat 1 to 50. And then on the plan page, you're gonna have a diagram of where each one of those mats go, so that when the contractor gets out there, there's no question on where does he start. Mat 1 is a pretty good indication of where you're gonna start the install. And then along with that, he has color-coded lines that show where trenching needs to be, what happens at overlaps, on the edges of the mat, on the very outside edge of the mat, 2 block need to be beveled in at a 45-degree angle and covered up by dirt. When you get down to the last set of rolls, those get towed in 18 inches. So what I do in my presentation, Ty, and maybe it's wrong or I don't know, but I do put a couple of wrong installations in there because I want people to understand if they would have done it the correct way, this would not have been a problem. But then by putting those in there, what that does is at the end of the presentation, and I'm there to take questions from people, it's crazy. I just started doing that this year, putting in those the wrong way to do it. And I can't tell you how many people afterwards say, man, love the product, really want to use it, but you show those examples of some failures, like I don't want my project to fail. And I said, I understand that.
Wrong.
Well, I said there's really one way to correct that. I said when you're putting together your plans and your specifications, if you just write in there that the manufacturer's rep needs to be there for the start of the installation, and you make me go out there and be there for the start of it, I'm going to tell you right now, you are not going to have a failure.
Right. Hey, let's touch on that. We mentioned that a second ago. I mean, I know you don't have your presentation. We're not sharing the visuals, but I think I heard a couple of key things that are probably the reason for any type of failure. Let's just put them out there. Like what do these installers need to make sure they're doing? If you want to kind of share those, I mean, you could just share the failures from your presentation. Like what did they do wrong?
Sure. Okay, so I brought up the widths 4, 5.5, 8, 10, 12, 16, but we also have the ability to customize even further than that. So on a lot of our installs, the machine's 16 foot wide. So what we can do is block off a foot, and we can make a 15.5 with a tail. So before we had that tail, it was only 16 foot. So a guy would have to roll out 16 feet, peel back a couple block, put a 2.5 foot piece of Recyclex in there, flop the mat down, and then lay the next mat to that in have a nice tight abutment. Mm-hmm. Now that we have the tail incorporated, it's a no-brainer. There's a foot of geogrid tail and 6 inches of blanket. The guy rolls it out. That tail's right there. He grabs the next mat and just rolls over the tail. So to give you an example of that, what can go wrong? I had a job around the Des Moines city area off of a very main interstate. And I went out there to look at it, and I couldn't believe it. So they were putting Flexamat in front of an outlet. I think it was probably about a 36-inch outlet. And so they had set the mat I'd say about 7 feet from the outlet. Well, if you take a look at our details, the proper installation would have been start the mat up by the outlet, you put an 18-inch trench, put 3 block in there, and then roll the mat out. Once they do that first mat, they go back and they put either grout or concrete where they did that trench so that when water comes out of the outlet, there's absolutely no way for that water to get underneath the mat. So this contractor started 7 feet away from it. They ran the mats perpendicular to flow. So when they laid out the first mat, the edge that was closest to the outlet, that should have been trenched in 18 inches, and it was not. It was just laying there flat. So what's going to happen is once water comes out of that outlet, it's going to get underneath that mat, and it's going to roll it. And then it's going to take the rest of the mats out, and you're going to have a failure. Now, the more comical part of this job was when they laid in the first mat, the tail was not on the side of the outlet, and they literally put the tail. So when they laid the next mat, what they should have done is rolled it out. The next mat goes over the tail. Mm-hmm. They laid the second mat down, and the tail was on top of the concrete block. Wow. And I'm like, I don't know how you could misinterpret it that the tail should have been covered up by the next mat. So then you look at another part of the job, and they had like a V where they had like a 6 or 8 inch gap from mat 2 to 3. That's going to be a failure. Then when you get to the last mat, they had the tail on the wrong side. So the theory behind the tail always goes on the side of where water is coming from, so that when water goes over the mat, each mat is going to try to push into the tail, not away from the tail. These guys had the tail in incorrectly. So what happened was the last mat that was installed, they must have had a very large rain event. It just took that mat away and took it about 10 feet from the end of the mat. And the engineer's like, why did that happen? And I'm like, the tail's on the wrong side. Like it's very easy for that mat just to tear away from that area.
Oh man, I think I see that across a lot of manufacturers on front. It's such a crazy deal, dude. Like, I don't know what happens out in the field sometimes. I really feel like they just go, "Oh yeah, it's fine. It's self-explanatory." They just throw the paperwork or the specs. They just kind of don't even look at them. They don't even look at them. Right. They're like, right. "Oh, let's do it like this."
Well, you get a so kind of what I expect out of my distribution is, right? So they land a job. The material gets shipped. We bill them right away. So once they get that bill, they know that product's been delivered. What you really want to have happen is, okay, I know product's delivered. Now call the contractor and say, hey, I understand you have the product now. when do you think you're going to do the installation? Because I would like to be out there to assist you and help you out. And you know how it is. I'd say 75% of them say, we know what we're doing. We don't need your help. Then you get out there and it's a complete disaster.
Oh man, I just we do stuff because we just want to take pictures. I just run a marketing agency, and we have to tell these guys sometimes we're not going to tell you anything. I mean, if you install it upside down, that's not somebody else is going to tell you. It ain't going to be me. Right. I'm just there to take pictures, fly the drone, take some video, and it is pulling teeth. The contractors just don't want you over their shoulder. It's a shame.
So that's the other thing I didn't really cover. So the anchoring system for the product is anytime you're doing a leading edge trench or you are putting a mat over a tail, we sell an 18-inch U-shaped rebar anchor. That anchor goes every 2 feet, whatever direction you're going, it doesn't matter. Then we also work with a company called Drivable. They make a crossplate anchor for us. That anchor is only made for our system. And that anchor, so a lot of the times people are like, hey, Ron, on a slope, what's the steepest you can go? Well, we do 4-to-1, 3-to-1, 2-to-1 all day long. But, if we get into a 1-to-1 slope application, then we're going to incorporate those crossplate anchors, which they're a 6-foot percussion anchor that goes into the ground. And we're only using that because we don't want the mat to slip or slide or anything like that.
Well, I mean, I think some of the biggest takeaways from a lot of what you just said is, number one, you guys provide a paint by number. You guys have somebody that provides a paint by number. And two, you're willing to be on site. I mean, take advantage of the resources that are given to you. Not all companies are willing to do what is necessary.
I do have to tell you one funny anchor story.
Oh no!
So I've gotten a call from this contractor up in Boston, Wisconsin, and he's like, "Hey, Ron, getting ready to put the mats in. I'm in front of this outlet. I understand your detail says that I need to put an 18-inch trench there." And I said, "That is correct." And he's like, "But I can't do that." And I'm like, "Why can you not do that?" And he's like, "Because I have a gas line at a certain depth." Ooh. And I'm like, "Okay. Could you go 12 inches? And he's like, "Yes, I can." I'm like, "Okay, then we'll have to adapt to the situation and put in a little bit shorter of an anchor." It really doesn't matter at that point because he's going to be putting concrete at that leading edge anyway.
Okay.
So I'm driving up to Minneapolis for the IACA, the big show, and I'm going up 90, and I look and I'm like, wow, there's Boston. I just talked to that guy yesterday. I need to pull off. So I pull off, I go into town, I'm at a Denny's and a gas station, and I call the guy up and I'm like, "Hey, I'm in town, where are you at?" And he's like, "Where are you at?" And I tell him, and he's like, "Take a right out of the parking lot, go down to the stoplight, take a left, you'll go about 3/4 of a mile, look to the left, you're gonna see a road closed, we're back there." I'm like, "All right, cool." I get out there and I'm standing on top of the road, and underneath the road is a huge steel culvert. And I look to the left, and he's already got that area installed. It looked really good. Looked like he did a good job. And so I look to the right, and that's where he was finishing up his install. And he had about 3 rolls, I'd say about 75% unrolled. And I'm looking at it, and I look at the last mat, and it's got the tail on it. And I look at the contractor and I said, "Do you see that tail over there on that last mat?" And he's like, What tail?" Well, he had one of his laborers out on the mat, and the kid went over there and grabbed the tail. And I said, "That tail." And he's like, "Yeah, what about it?" And I said, "Well, that should have been the first mat that went in, so that the second mat, you would have rolled right over that tail. Now that it's on the outside edge of this install, really nothing we can do about it because you've already unrolled the rolls too far. We can't re-roll them back up." He's like, "Okay," and so then we don't recommend this, but he did it. Between the first and second mat, because he didn't have the tail there, he should have put an erosion control blanket at that seam. Instead, he did a couple block overlap. And at that point, what do? You just can't change it. And he says, "I don't think I have enough rebar anchors." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" I said, You see wherever the mats abut one another, you just put an anchor every 2 feet down that seam.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, you mean I don't put an anchor every 2 feet throughout the entire area? And I'm like,
and that's what you're going to say. Like,
I'm going to tell you what, I saved that guy thousands of dollars in rebar.
Hey man, he was just trying to make sure that stuff wasn't gonna move since he didn't have it. He didn't have had a tail.
I was like, hey man, I said the product weighs 10 pounds per square foot. I said, trust me, it's going nowhere.
Oh man. Well, all right. Well, let's finish up with you got one that you got a hero story at all? You got a project that was just like where you guys came in, saved the day? I feel like we kind of already had one because you had that one where you overcame the cost difference and then you flew over it with the drone. It's all nicely vegetated. That's feel good. But you got any final story that you want to share with us, or anything that we missed? Anything that either the general stormwater professional listening to the pod needs to hear about the product, or something we may have missed that installer needs to hear, like just anything you can think of, maybe that's in your presentation that we haven't covered.
So a little bit about the company. Motz Enterprises has been around. We started selling the product in 2000. Matt Motz's dad, Jim, is the one that invented it. So if you've ever been to Cincinnati, you know that all you have to do is go across the bridge near Kentucky. So Jim had a farm in Kentucky, and at that time he was a sod farmer. And so he had an area that I'm probably not going to tell the story quite like Matt Motz would, but he had this retention pond, and he wanted it to be like when you drove in, to be a centerpiece of attraction. And he was having a lot of muskrats burrowing into the side. And so he's like, man, how do I prevent this from happening? So he laid down a chain link fence to prevent them from burrowing in. And he looked at it and he's like, man, that just doesn't look that good, right? So that's when he made the forms for Flexamat in his garage. A lot of trial and error. The blocks were smaller than what they are now. And if you really think about it, it's funny to me that the inception of Flexamat came off of that shoreline because he wanted something that looked better, that was going to vegetate, that was hard armored, and obviously is going to look better than Riprap. So that's how Flexamat came to be, is because of that. Now, if you really think about it, if he's a sod farmer, right? So if you're ever driving down the interstate and you see a flatbed truckload of Flexamat, you know what most people think it is? Sod.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
They don't realize it's concrete blocks rolled up into that roll.
That's
so
hilarious.
Corporate offices in Cincinnati. That's where we manufacture everything that I sell in my area. We also produce down in Texas. We have a location in Minot, North Dakota. And then it was probably about 5 years ago, we did a job in Kingman, Arizona. The job was 425,000 square feet. So Matt Motz thought, hey, that job's big enough. He went out and bought a fourth machine, and we literally manufactured the entire job on the job site. So we cut out thousands of dollars worth of freight.
That's awesome.
So that plan is still over, I believe, in California, and that just kind of stays out there because, we did a levee job out in Sacramento. I think it was 1 million square feet of Flexamat. We did that all on site. So there's a real advantage when it comes to those bigger type projects that, for us to mobilize, cut out that freight, bring that cost down is, I think, very huge.
That's super cool. I mean, just to be able to do that on site, that's really cool. Well, all right. Well, I just want to thank you for doing this against your will. I mean, I want to thank you for coming on the pod, talking to me. I've been trying to get somebody from the company on here, man, because you guys, I love it's a good product, good people, and I really appreciate your time today, Ron. And hopefully somebody will listen to this and get something out of it that doesn't already know about Flexamat.
Sure.
So thank you
I appreciate you. I appreciate you finally hounding me enough to, get this set up. I've been wanting to do this for a while as well, but I don't know, kept blowing it off when I shouldn't have. And so I'm glad we finally got it figured out.
you're a road warrior, brother. I will keep chasing you because I know what it's like. I still remember what it's like to be on the road all the time. So thanks again for taking the time. And I guess is there anything going on in the fourth quarter? Where are you going to be? Just going to be doing your normal lunch and learns? Any final conferences people could see yet?
Yeah, so it's funny you should say that. Uh, Normally I'm on the road, but over Labor Day weekend, my wife and I went to Portland, Maine. Had never been there, just thought we would check it out.
Beautiful.
A great part of the world to go to.
It's
So
beautiful.
then, with that, coming home on Monday, I thought, well, I really need Tuesday to Friday to get geared up for the rest of the year. And so, yes, I have. Let me see. It would be, I think next week, I'm going down to French Lick, Indiana for the Indiana Floodplain Association. They have their conference there. The week after that, I have a Wisconsin County Highway Department Superintendent's Conference up in the Wisconsin Dells. That's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, leave there. Thursday, I go up to Rice Lake, Wisconsin. They have what's called the NASICA event. And that's a really cool event. They get people throughout the entire state. They're not there just to listen about Flexamat. They learn about hydromulch and straw wattles and erosion control blankets. And so it's a really nice conference to get a general overview on all the products that are out there and all the different ways and applications that you can use them on. And then beyond that, I was setting up lunch and learns in the beginning of November, the late October, the second week in December. So I'm all over the place, and I still got more to plan.
Full plate, full schedule. Love it. Love it. Now
Yeah,
everybody knows why it was so hard to get you to hold still for 30 minutes. Well, Ron, I
right.
appreciate it again, man. I'm sure I'll see you I'm sure I'll see you at some point in 2026. Maybe not for the end of the year, but I'm sure our
Sure.
paths will cross as they always tend to do. Tell everybody
Definitely.
I've known Matt since 2012, since he was still, when he was still working for his dad. Like I said,
Right.
you guys, good product, great people, and thanks a lot. I think that's the pod.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Bye bye.
See you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Stormwater World Podcast, and a big thank you to our sponsor, Bloxam & Company, home of the coconut fiber stormwater inlet filter that is super easy to install and maintain. Make sure you go check them out. That's Bloxam & Company. You can check them out at bloxam.com. That's BLOCKSOM.com. And we'll see you on the next episode.